There is a tale of two nations that some say lies at the heart of Canada, a tale that stresses the French and English immigrants and their establishments over those of the individuals who have lived within Canada long before the white man created their claim. This creation of the tale of the two founding nations of Canada has been present in the Canadian identity throughout its history. While the modern practice is to acknowledge that Native people were present within Canadian territory before the French and English sent people across the sea to establish extensions of their nations, that recognition has come in more recent times, while the architecture and government have been established well before the First Nations people were included into the Canadian identity. The province of Quebec is one of 10 provinces in Canada, but the capital of the province is where it is clear that the tale of the two founding nations is still tightly woven into their everyday life. From the abundance of fleur-de-lis to the French cuisine, culture, and language, and the very unique Québécois, it is clear that Quebec and its capital, Quebec City, takes pride in its French roots and underwent a separate cultural development from the rest of Canada that allowed them to hold on to their French portion of Canadian culture. While the majority of Canada began to embrace the English side of the founding nations myth, this separation of the cultural identities have become distinct within the environment of the capital of the province and its official space. Within each provincial capital, there is a provincial parliament building, as well as the federal parliament building located in the nation's capital, Ottawa. Each building is built with the province's identity in mind and is a physical manifestation of its identity. By examining the architecture, artwork, and contents of the building, the identity of the province becomes evident. While the buildings are one manifestation of the identity of the province, the narrative told on the tours of each building highlights the differences in the identity of each province. Each tour guide is given a script of what to say during their tours, but how each tour guide portrays the identity of their province is different by what they focus on within each tour. The narrative given by two guides, one in the Quebec Parliament Building and one in the Federal Parliament Building in Ottawa, provide a clear distinction between the national and Quebec identities. The tour of the Quebec Parliament Building began with our tour guide showing the Grand Foyer and explaining the importance of tradition within Quebec, as told by the provincial motto, I Remember. This is meant to emphasize remembering the origins, the past, and the traditions. The connection to the past and tradition was evident in the descriptions and stories told throughout the tour, from the statements about how everything in the building was original to the importance of each of the two houses. The French story can be seen by the dominant presence of the fleur-de-lis within the decorations and paintings. The English side of the story is present within the Parliament building's interior, as the Red Lions of Great Britain can be seen throughout the buildings. The founding nation's tale is seen by the presence of both English and French seals and symbols, as well as the large painting in the Red Room. This painting of the Sovereign Council shows the two nations coming together to form the state of Canada and its European regimes. This prominence of tradition and the French culture is clearly seen in the people's preference to both French culture and the language. The Parliament building and its employees, whether it's acknowledged or not, are the physical manifestation of the Quebec identity, one that is distinctly French. Since 1857, when Queen Victoria appointed Ottawa as the capital of Canada, the Parliament building has been the center of federal Canadian government. The first Parliament building was destroyed by a fire in 1916, and only the library was spared. From this tragedy, it provided the opportunity for the construction of a new Parliament building. This new building is the one that currently stands as the hub of Canadian government. This new building gave a chance to credit those who founded the nation, as seen by the intricate carvings in the foyer showing the history of Canada from the Aboriginals to modern times. The story told in the new building is one that includes not only the tale of the two founding nations, but those who existed and contributed to the creation of the nation of Canada. While Quebec Parliament focuses on the French portion of the Canadian culture, the National Parliament focuses on the nation as a whole. The national government passed a law in 1967 that made the nation officially bilingual and provided silent translators for those members of the government who were working on becoming bilingual. This allowed for the identity of the Parliament to better match that of the nation as a whole. The Senate House foyer is another tribute to the inclusive identity. The ceiling shows the crest of the four original provinces: Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. Along with these crests, the symbols of maple leaves for the Aboriginal peoples, griffins for Wales, lions for England, and fleur-de-lis for France are included within this tile compilation. With the ceiling in hand with the other pieces throughout the building, almost all of those involved with the founding of Canada's national identity are included, such as a stained glass window done to commemorate the 2008 official apology to the Aboriginal peoples for residential schools. The narrative given by the tour guide on the Federal Building Tour provided a more inclusive tale of the founding of the nation and an explanation on how the two houses interact to create the federal governmental system. By looking at both the architecture and the narratives of the tours, the identity of the unique province, Quebec, in comparison to the national identity, differences can be found. From the abundance of fleur-de-lis covering Quebec's Parliament building and its capital city, to the inclusion of symbols representing the multitude of founders of Canada in the National Parliament building in Ottawa, the difference in how each part of Canada contributes to the national identity can be seen.